You're watching Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Julia Kim. Here are the top stories from the continent. Crowds pay homage to Ethiopia's army chief killed in Saturday's attacks on top officials. The government has described the killings as a failed coup. Students and teachers in Algeria protest for change for an 18th straight Tuesday. They're also angry at a ban on using the Berber flag during their rallies. Authorities say it threatens national unity. And French petroleum giant Total is under fire from environmental groups. They say the company has failed to account for its social and environmental responsibilities for an oil project in Uganda. But first, a funeral service has been held for the chief of Ethiopia's military, General Siri Mekonnen. Earlier, hundreds of mourners paid their respects, including Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who wept openly for his lost ally. The general was shot dead by his bodyguard, who officials say is being treated for gunshot wounds. This contradicts an earlier account that the shooter had killed himself. Saturday's attacks also claimed the life of Amhara's governor and several other top officials. The alleged mastermind behind what the government describes as a failed coup was shot dead on Monday by security forces. Here's what some of the attendees had to say.
My thoughts about this murder is that it was designed to destabilize the country. It was planned to raise ethnic conflict in the country and to destabilize the government. They were planning to form a transitional government, but they did not succeed.
My father believed in unity, transparency, and working together. He was a genuine Ethiopian hero. But Ethiopia will never be destroyed.
Well, let's turn now to Algeria now, and hundreds of students and teachers once again took to the streets of Algiers to call for a new regime. This time, they've added another grievance to their list, denouncing a ban on waving the regional Berber flag during protests. The authorities say their flags threaten national unity. Nicolas Germain reports.
For the 18th Tuesday in a row, students and teachers took to the streets of Algiers. Their aim is to push for a political overhaul. Mass protests led to the resignation of President Bouteflika in April. But the country's de facto leader now is one of his close allies, Gaid Salah, who's the head of the army. Since mid-June, he has been saying that only the national flag is allowed to be used during protests. That means the Berber flag is not allowed. Berbers represent 1/4 of Algerians and have been marginalized by the authorities for decades.
I find it really unfair to ban our flag. It's our right to carry it. It represents our origins. We are proud of them. Now they tell us we can't carry it, so we wear our traditional clothes because no one can stop us from showing who we are, what our identity is.
On Sunday, 18 protesters were detained because they had demonstrated with Berber flags. They were told they had threatened national unity. But on Tuesday, some students said this issue was not the priority.
We are not here to talk about the flag issue. We are here to call for political solutions so we can end this crisis.
Gaid Salah says he wants to hold talks with the protesters, but they say he has no political legitimacy. Demonstrators want new institutions to write up a new constitution and organize a presidential election.
Now, pro-choice protesters in Morocco have gathered outside parliament to demand a change to abortion laws. They want the procedure to be legalized in cases of rape, incest, or if the fetus has serious defects. Currently, terminations are only allowed in cases where the life of the mother is in danger. Otherwise, women can face up to 5 years in prison, forcing them to resort to unsafe options. According to the Moroccan Association of Family Planning, 50 to 80,000 clandestine abortions are performed in the country every year.
Thousands of women are raped and abort under terrible conditions. This practice should not be considered as a criminal act. It is a normal practice, and when you have an unwanted pregnancy or when you get pregnant by a rapist or a family member, we do not want to have this child.
French petroleum giant Total is in hot water after environmental groups filed a formal notice against the company. Corporate due diligence laws require multinationals like Total to account for the adverse impact of their activities once a year. Now, campaign groups say Total failed to mention their Ugandan Tilenga crude oil project in their 2018 plan, thereby violating the law. They claim the petrol giant intimidated and unfairly compensated local landowners and failed to safeguard the surrounding national park. Well, joining me in the studio today is Dickens Kamugisha, Director of the Africa Institute for Energy Governance, one of the 6 campaign groups involved in this legal notice. First of all, can you tell us what is this legal notice and why have you decided to take this course of action?
Thank you very much. We appreciate Total is bringing an investment of over $4 billion in Uganda, and our economy is still small. But we are saying, yes, you can bring that investment, but where you find you are displacing and making over 50,000 people in the rural communities, you find they no longer have their land, they no longer have the food, they no longer take their children to school. We think that is not development. It is an investment that will not help people. It is only investment that can help only those people in the government and the company itself. So the reason why we are filing the formal notes is that actually we are telling Total, you cannot continue violating the rights of our people. You cannot continue displacing people without giving them compensation. You cannot continue delaying to pay people even the little compensation you want to give. You cannot continue going into the national park, going into the rivers to install oil infrastructure without giving us a framework that can guarantee that actually those violations are going to be stopped and those ones that haven't happened that are not going to happen. So that's the reason why we are filing the formal notes, that actually Total must explain that their actions are not going to continue violating the rights of our people.
And why do you think Total has actually failed to make specific mention of this project, this Ugandan Tilenga project?
Of course, there are many challenges because in November 2018, just last year, Total and the government of Uganda organized 2 public hearings where they invited people to communicate their views about the project. Over 2,000 people, we mobilized them. They didn't actually call them. We mobilized them to come. And people asked Total, where you have listed over 30 risks to the environment, to the communities, to water, to rivers, to forests, where are the mitigation plans that can help you, that can help the people of Uganda to avoid, or where they cannot avoid, mitigate those risks that will definitely affect the rights of the people. And Total did not give us. They promised that they are going to give us those mitigation plans. And unfortunately, just this year in April, the National Environmental Management Authority that is supposed to approve the environmental aspects of the project, they approved the project for Total to go ahead. So yes, I think Total is hiding something. They don't want to be open on the project, because there is no reason why they could promise Ugandans that we are going to give you plans on how we are going to avoid or mitigate the risks, and they continue and connive with government to get the certificate of approval without giving the Ugandans who were in the meeting those management plans.
Now, speaking of the Ugandans who are directly affected by this project,
yes,
what are some of their concerns? Why are they worried?
Of course, in Uganda, especially local communities where the Ugandan oil is on land, and people in Uganda, over 80% of the people in Uganda survive on land. It's where they grow food. It's where they sell food to get income, to take their children to school, to go to hospitals. It's almost his life and death in as far as land is concerned in Uganda. So this is the land that Total wants to build central processing facilities, to build pipelines, to build the oil pads. So they are directly affecting the communities who have been living on that land, and now the land must be taken for Total to build the oil infrastructure. And we think if they are to take the land, they must ensure that people are given compensation that can restore them back to their original life that they were living. They should not really do anything that is going to stop people from taking their children to school, the people becoming landless and actually becoming poorer than what they were before the oil activities started. So those are the challenges that we see that Total must stop.
Okay, Dickens Kamugisha, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to some sports news now. And title holders Cameroon were too strong for Guinea-Bissau, beating them 2-0 in their Group F opener of the Africa Cup of Nations. Yaya Banana and Stefan Bahoken scoring for the indomitable Lions in the second half. The road to the tournament was far from smooth, though, for the five-time champions. Preparations had been tampered after a row over bonuses, with players staging a sit-in protest before departing for Egypt. Well, Group F's second match of the day, Ghana and Benin, will face off in just a few minutes at 10 p.m. Paris time. And that's all from me here on Eye on Africa. Mark Owen is up next with all the latest world news headlines.